السلام عليكم جميعا. يسعدني ويشرفني أن نستضيف اليوم في محاضرتنا ضمن برنامج سلسلة محاضرات الأستاذ الزائر الأستاذ الدكتور عبير حسين من جامعة ليفربول في المملكة المتحدة. دكتورة عبير تعتبر من الرائدين في مجال الذكاء الصناعي والماشين ليرنينج. شرف كبير لنا في الجامعة التكنولوجية أن تكون محاضرتنا هذا اليوم البروفيسور عبير، وهي أحد أعضاء مجلس الجامعة الاستشاري. دكتورة عبير، ممتن لحضرتك لقبولك دعوتنا لهذا اليوم. أترك المساحة لحضرتكم لتقديم نفسكم. And as you want, if you would like to speak in Arabic or English, whatever you want, we are fine. Dr. Abir, presentation is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for everyone who has invited me to give this talk. What I would like to talk about in today's lecture is about machine learning and some of the application that we had at our university, in particular myself and some of my researchers and some of the people that they work for me as well. So my name is, as Amjad mentioned, Abir Hussain. I'm professor of machine learning at the School of Computing, Computer Science and Mathematics at Liverpool John Moores University. I graduated from Salford University with the electronic and electrical engineering. Then I moved at the University of Manchester, where I did both my master degree and my PhD degree. And my PhD degree was also related to artificial intelligence and machine learning. And this is where my passion for machine learning comes, and for AI as well. So just to give you an idea what I'm going to talk about, I would like to talk and give an overview of what's an AI, what's machine learning, the data science approaches that we're going to talk about. I'm going to go through some of the application, and particularly there are some recent ones, some old one as well. The recent one it's actually I collaborate with Dr. Wasiq Khan, and his reasons that I asked him also to come here and actually to explain some of the details that we actually, some of the techniques that we did and some of these applications. I do hope that you will enjoy it, and we are actually, both of us, I'm sure, happy to answer any of your questions. Now, before I start, I usually actually try to introduce where we come from. We came from Liverpool. It's a vibrant and beautiful city in the Northwest. It has some of the historical heritage. It has what we call it the Merseyside River. I am lucky enough, actually, from my office where we have actually, it's called Byram Street. In the building there, my office actually can see part of the Merseyside River. So it's actually a very beautiful city. As I said, one of the things that has is actually the heritage, the old building. We also actually have one of the well-known football team, definitely the Liverpool football team. And I'm sure some of you do support the Liverpool Football Club. I personally don't support them. I support Manchester United. But it's actually, this is up to you, whatever you would like to support. I do hope that in the future, travel will be allowed, and a lot of you will be able to visit us at Liverpool, definitely. Now, one of the things that I would like to talk about it before starting even talking and defining what's an AI is actually about the Industrial Revolution. And here I would like also to thank Professor Jumaili. I got some of these actually some of the slides from him. So we always try to look at this Industrial Revolution because we need to go back also to the past. So when we're talking about Industrial Revolution, we know that there is the Industry 1.0, there is Industry 2.0, there's also the Industry 3.0, and particularly currently we have what's known as Industry 4.0. So you're talking about in the past, what we have the use of water to generate the energy. Then it comes the Industry 2.0, where you have the mass production in that time. Then you have, when we come actually after that, when we use the computers, start actually, we have the newer type of industry. And then after that, when we start to use the Internet of Things, where we start actually using data, so we try to use sensors and so on, and this is where we have the Industry 4.0. So what we can see here is all this actually industry that we actually know about them. For me, actually, it's the Industry 4.0. This is actually what we have here. As I said, the data that is becoming really important. You have in this case sensors, it's positioned everywhere, and in this case you can actually collect data, analyze that data, use actually the AR, artificial intelligence, to be able to analyze it and be able to make sense out of it. So we're talking about the Internet of Things here and sensors and so on. But if we talk about all that, and this is something that we always try to remember, our past, there is actually a past before it. And lots of people think that there is an Industry 0.0, which comes actually from Baghdad, from Iraq. And it comes from lots of those scholars and those actually genius people. And one of them is what we call, we know him actually, Muhammad ibn Mustafa al-Khwarizmi. He is actually a spiritual father of science and technology throughout all the ages. He actually worked and lived in the House of Wisdom in Baghdad. He did lots of research there, and he actually, when we look at things like, for example, Al-Khwarizmiyat, it actually comes from his name. And similarly, when it comes to, when we say, for example, algorithms, it also comes from his name, Al-Khwarizmi. So algorithm comes from his name. And we all know what's algorithm is actually the step by step. It's actually a mathematical way, steps by step, to solve any problem. So if you have any problem, the algorithm is that step by step. So it's actually genius. It comes from an age, what we call it the Islamic golden age, where we start to actually develop lots of this mathematics. They looked at lots of these patterns. So one of the things, if we actually look at it, do we need, or actually does data science is really new here? I mean, we know that we looked at it and we saw that in Baghdad and actually in that House of Wisdoms, this is actually lots of research has been created, has been done. Now, one of the things that this is the reason why is this data science is actually new, because data science is actually looking at patterns and try to make sense out of all the information. And what I would like to show you here, this is probably you have seen it before, you came from Iraq, and I know you have actually seen that. So if you look at these actually steps and this way of representing the data, or try to actually do these simple mathematical way, what you can see certain patterns here. You can see it. And people in the past in Iraq did actually looked at that, did understand it, did actually create or manage to able to look at this pattern type of recognition, recognizing actually some pattern there. So we talked about it, we talked about industry. I mean, 4.0 in particular, as I said, this is related to sensor, Internet of Things, and so on. So what is artificial intelligence, or when you actually talk about it? What do you usually consider it? I mean, for me, for example, machine learning is part of AI. What we do here is actually we try, or this is when we're talking about, for example, neural network, is we call them all, they are devices that they can process information. So you have information, you need to process them, but you need to actually to work in a way, you need to train your artificial intelligence, you need to make it be able to understand what's going on. And most importantly, what you have to have is the ability to solve a problem. So the goal of AI is actually to act, be intelligent, and at the same time to be independent. So decision that can be independent. Now, when you talk about it, you need the ability to solve problems, the ability to act rationally, actually to make some judgment. And the whole idea here is to become like human. Although we know that there is no machine can be as intelligent as the human being are the most intelligent part, and they use this actually machine for their benefit. But what we try to say here, if I have, for example, a problem of predicting, let's suppose, some future events, what I need to have, I need to look at the past of this data, try to train my system, try to train my AI, and then this AI will be able to do some decisions in the future. And we did work, and there are lots of examples where we work, for example, with the doctors. And in this case, we looked at the different application, who try to develop, let's say, systems that can think similar to the doctors or make a decision similar to the consultant, because consultant time is very limited in this case, and there are very small number of consultants with high training, and training a consultant was actually becoming very difficult. So we actually developed some systems there, particularly when we talked about the headaches project, and we have a number of these. But the whole idea here, all of these, I mean, devices, why they actually work, and why they do give good, solution. But at the same time, you need to be very careful. What we need to have is not to replace the human, but for this case to be able to help the human. We're not in any way, we try to say that those machines will be able to replace any human being. Now, we had, as I said, projects. We work with the different types of doctors. We work with the industry, with agriculture as well. So I'm going to talk about different applications. And one of these applications is related to object detection. I will let Dr. Khan to work to actually mention what exactly we have developed, particularly with relation to the gaze and eye actually tracking. But what's object detection? When we're talking about object detection, is actually looking when you have actually a system that be able to track certain object. And there are lots of application here. So when we talk about, let's say, a driverless car, so what we need to have in this case, we need to have sensors all around the car. We need to have an AI system, and that's the most important thing. So object detections and localization with an image are certainly an essential task in any computer vision, as I said. And we did recently work with particularly we looked at iris and people actually the detections, and this has been used in our case. Is actually being used for, in particular, when Dr. Khan will talk. So I leave it with him, because I know that إذا حضر الماء بطل التيمم. He is the one who worked with this actually eye detection, and he had a number of these actually papers that we work through them. So as you can see here, in particular, we have projects with the what we call it, the deceptions in the eye of deceiver, which is a computer vision and machine learning based on automated deception detection, is led by Dr. Wasiq Khan. And we also have people localization and eye center estimation using machine learning. Again, is actually by Dr. Wasiq, and he's going to talk more about these, two projects that we actually work with them. So this is a project that we had, and particularly with Manchester Metropolitan University, which is where Dr. Wasiq was actually working there, and he's going to talk more about them. So I will leave that with him, and he's going to talk about the deception detection, particularly because he did really interesting actually experiments where he had, I think, around 50 people and divide them and actually try to give some people to say or to actually talk without any deceptions, and other people to talk and give actually some incorrect information, and use avatar to actually contact the people when they actually give them any instruction or when they talk to them. And the experiment is extremely actually interesting, because in this case use machine learning to be able to detect through the eyes people who are deceptive or non-deceptive. Interestingly, that work that, and particularly for the eye detection, has actually led us to other project, which is actually, it has been submitted, so recently submitted, that we work with the science faculty with Dr. Emily Bethel. So what we did here, we actually looked and used machine learning again, in particular deep learning actually models, to be able to detect the positions of the actually heads for the monkeys. So Dr. Wasiq Khan and Dr. Emily, they work together. So they had the videos and they try actually to label those videos and spend quite a lot of time. And then after that, we use machine learning, and we use particularly deep learning to be able to look at the position of the monkey's eye. Interestingly, and this is where probably Dr. Wasiq will tell you, is that because they are behind the bars, the monkeys were behind the bars, and this is where the difficulty actually comes out of that. Why do we need actually to know this, the positions of the monkeys? Because there are lots of work and research actually done within animals, and what they try to do here to use lots of these invasive methods, and the method that we try to develop is non-invasive. It's actually using AI and machine learning to be able to detect the positions or the head position for the animals. Now, another project that we worked with is related to sickle cell disease. And sickle cell disease is a type of disease that affects most people from Africa, and some people actually from the Middle East as well. It's an inherited type of disease where different, for example, to if you look at the red blood cells, the normal one, as you can see it here, this is a normal blood cell. So it look around. The people with sickle cell disease, they have it like a crescent. Now, the problem with that, if it goes to the artery of any actually artery in the blood, then because it's a crescent, it can't pass, and it actually can cause a huge problem. As I said, this is type of inherited disease. And what we did here, we actually been approached by doctors, particularly consultant from the Liverpool Royal Hospital, and they come to us, and what they said to us, said, look, doctors, and particularly what we actually done there, they said to us that they have a problem with younger people or younger actually patient who don't want to use medication. So there is a type of medication that if the patient use it, there would be no issue and they live normally, and those at that time was actually new. So this is actually a project that we had one of my PhD students from Iraq, Dr. Dr. Khalaf, who actually worked with that. So Muhammad Khalaf, Dr. Muhammad Khalaf worked with that. He's now back in Iraq. He's very active as well. What he did actually, he consulted with the consultant, and we tried to develop in this case a system that will be able to help the consultant to give the right amount of medication for the patient, but at the same time to develop a system to monitor the status of the patient at the same time. So what we wanted to do is a whole system for monitoring patients who suffer from the sickle cell disease. We had to have at that time, because we want to develop. So when we develop it, and that was the proposed system that we had, so people can actually, patient, they can put their details through the mobile. It can go, all these details, it can go to the doctors, that they can monitor the patient. If there is any issue, they can actually directly contact the patient. As I said, part of it was to use AI to be able to or machine learning to be able to detect or find the right amount of medication for the patient. We had ethical approval, and one of the interesting things that we had there, I had to go with the student, the PhD student that time, Mohammed, and we had to go to the ethical committee. It was from the National Health Services, so it was actually quite tough, and we had a couple of times that we tried to apply through it and we failed until the last time he went there. And one of the things that Mohammed mentioned to them, that look, I only wanted to propose the system that benefit the society, and I'm going to go back to Iraq and I'm going to work there, but all I want to do is something that benefits the society. And it is true, it's something that's going to be working, and this is where we managed to get ethical approval and used it within the hospital to prove that our system is working. So we had, as I said, a couple of publications relating to that as well. Another project that I have, I try not to be, hopefully I'll be able to cover it as well, because I would like to give space to Dr. Wasiq as well to talk about it, is related, in this case, we're also talking about visual fencing. Now, if you look at the UK had lots of animal stock, and they have lots of sheep in particular. Now, if we create, in this case, hard fencing, it meant that this is going to be, costly a lot. It costs quite a huge amount of money to be able to create or put hard fencing or real fencing. And at the same time, not just the cost, but it's going to actually create time. And the whole idea here was to create what we call a virtual fencing. So using computer science, using also electronic engineering. And what we try to have a virtual barrier. So in this case, when the animal approach that virtual fencing, we can actually direct the animals to move to a different direction. Now, interestingly, what we had to do in this case, we had not to use any electrical shock, because there are visual fencing systems in the world, in particular, for example, in Australia, that they looked for the cows rather than the sheep, and those two animals have different behavior. And in our case, the UK are going to prevent the use, or they do prevent the use of, particularly England, they prevent the use of electrical shock. So we had to work with the system in a way that we're not allowing, or we try to use not to use any electric shock for the animal. So what we did, we looked at first of all animal activity recognition. So we actually look at the we monitor the animals. We look at the different activities that they do. We actually use, in this case, machine learning to be able to detect the different type of activities, because animals can be grazing, they could actually feeding, they could actually fighting, and we manage to when they are, for example, active, sometimes they not being active, and it is very important as well for the health monitoring of those animals. If they are not active, for example, for a period of time, we need to discover that. And one of the things that we did with the virtual actually fencing is to video those animals, to be able to detect or actually label all the activities. Then we use machine learning to actually detect them and classifying the different activities for the sheep and the goats. Also, after that, what we did, we looked at the whole system where we be able to check when the animal are actually moving, when they are approaching the barriers, and we developed a sound systems in this case. And what does this sound system do? It actually gives certain frequencies to the animals. So we use sensors in this case situated on the ear of the animals, and then through that, what we try to see, to give them certain frequencies to actually let them know that, or train these animals to actually move away from certain, for example, barriers, which is a visual one. So this is some of the work that we have developed. And we had actually more than this publication. So we recently had a couple of publications. This is one of the good actually conference that we had related to this project. But we also submitted a number of journal paper, hoping that this will be accepted as well. Another project that I had, and this is a purely industrial project, which is the sentiment and entity analysis for, this is an industrial actually application. So what we had actually been contacted by a company in Liverpool. It was a small size company, around 15 people working in that company. And what they wanted to do is to extract informations from their data. So what they do, they have this what's known as I call it, the company called Living Lens. So I call it Living Lens project. So Living Lens is the name of the company. So what they do here, any, for example, a company that they have certain products, for example, Adidas, what they do before they actually putting their new product into the market, they let others use it for a couple of time, for a couple of, let's say, months, and then they provide information about, let's say, this product. For example, Adidas, if they produce a new type of shoes, they let people use it, and then after that, the people, when they use it, they can actually talk about it or about anything, and they put actually videos. That videos goes to the Living Lens platform. And what Living Lens platform, or what Living Lens actually wanted to do, is to extract information, because sometimes people, they don't say that this, for example, shoes is really bad or whatever, but actually they meant or do things or say things that actually may not be related, doesn't seem to be related. For example, one of them could actually go and say, oh yeah, I went in the morning, I looked at the weather is really nice, and I actually worked for a while, then actually I was a bit tired. You see, there is here some actually details, some sentiment information that we need to be extracted. And we did, in this case, we work with the company. We had two researchers working with me and the company, in which we were able actually to extract insight in the data and try to summarize it. That was our purpose. And we actually managed to get the data, try to filter it, clustering this data, do some rule mining, and we use, in this case, actually use also after that some type of machine learning in there to give actually a summary of details, and then you actually gain an insight. I can't go in lots of details, but the company has been sold to an American company after that for around 25 million pounds. So you can imagine how good the company did well to use, and their product has been used by this American company, which is in the one of the top companies there. So we did actually really well with that and with the project as well. So that will end up my actually presentation. I'm happy to answer any question. I try to go on time for half an hour to give the time to Dr. Khan. I think it would be better if we go to Dr. Khan, isn't it? And then he can actually talk about it. Then we can answer any question. Yeah.
Thank you. Actually, I will keep the question after Dr. Wasiq can complete. Dr. Wasiq, please go ahead.
So I'll stop presenting.
Yes.
Great. I don't know how to share my screen from this.
It's easy and it's straightforward. If you can just scroll down to the toolbar down the screen, and there is like an arrow in the box. If you can hit it, so there is like a share screen. Then there is a selection of share entire screen. Click it, and you are ready to go.
Activities I can't see. Activities toolbox.
So if you just move your pointer on the screen, can you see the toolbar? Okay, got it.
I think I got it. Please let me know if you can see my screen.
Sure.
And I hope yes.
Yes, it's downloading right now. Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, everyone, and Professor Abir, for your really nice talk about machine learning and data sciences. So I'm not going to go into detail about data science and data analytics, but I will keep focusing on some of technical aspects, and more specifically, the challenges that I've been facing since last, let's say, 10 years working as a data scientist on the aspects and big scale industrial projects in collaboration with the academia and industry across the globe. So my name is Wasiq. I'm senior lecturer in artificial intelligence and data science at LGMU. And I'm working very closely with Professor Abir since last 3 years. And prior to that, I've been working at Manchester Metro University and University of Central Lancashire within the UK. I completed my PhD from Bradford University in 2015 in speech analysis and artificial intelligence. I'm going to focus on data science and automation, some interesting facts, and more specifically our research. A lot of recent projects I think Abir have already talked about, and a couple of more I will show you some interesting videos that I'm allowed to because there are some ethical restrictions. And then challenges. Most importantly, what are the challenges I've been facing? And I think I must have share with you this kind of challenges, and that might be helpful for people working in this domain. Demand, automation demand, why? And I think if you notice, this is after the social media, I would say, after 2007 and specifically 2010. And this can be analyzed, or this can be, can be noticed from 1 minute of Google. See, in 2016, I can see 2.7 million videos in 60 seconds being watched over the internet. Just a Google 1 minute. And likewise, the Netflix, 69,000, and so on and so forth. 2019, 4.5 million videos are being viewed. Look the difference. And it is statistically significant difference. Likewise, in all other aspects, see Netflix, 694. So it's about 700,000 instead of 69,000. So it's multiplied with 14 or something. So 10, 15 times multiplied everything. And this is the demand of big data. And of course, when we talk about deep learning, Abir, I've already mentioned about machine learning, conventional machine learning, and then deep learning, and specifically the automation. I think this is the major aspect because things are transformed from different physical domains to now virtual domains most of the time, specifically since the pandemic. Look, everything is transformed now online, and it's going to go further regardless of pandemic and COVID-19 situation. So this is, I think, one of the most demanding and major aspect of the rise in demand of machine learning, deep learning, automation, data science, and big data terminologies. And I hope you will agree with this. Data science, working as a data scientist on various projects, I agree to one of this. I picked up this from a book. Sorry, I should give you the link, but I agree with this cycle that we have a problem in hand, and most of the time it is raw data, unstructured data with a lot of challenges, and we have to clean the data, process the data, and once this is a cyclic process basically, and once we have clean data, we apply model, algorithm, pattern, clusters, whatever the appropriate algorithm is to actually get the data product ready. As a researcher, most of the time, I have to communicate our research outcomes to conferences, to presentation, to technical committees, etc., and journal papers. So this is the whole cycle of the data science. I think it covers most of the aspects apart from like domain expertise or domain knowledge that can be embedded in the expert system. So, but this is the most general sequence in the data science, which I agreed to working as a data scientist on several projects. Research, current research within LGMU, as I said, I'm working very closely with Professor Abir, Hussain, and other research colleagues within the LGMU. And our technical contribution, we work like our major contribution covers two aspects: application and technical. When we call it technical, it is related to innovative algorithms, introducing different algorithms wherever appropriate. And our algorithms are majorly focusing on artificial intelligence and data analytics. Within the artificial intelligence, we focus on intelligent reasoning, just like fuzzy systems, Bayesian networks. What else? Theory of evidence, for example. So these are the intelligent reasoning we have been applying on different projects. Optimization, pathfindings, for example, is the main work that I have been contributing to in civic drones, and machine learning. And machine learning, again, as we mentioned, deep learning and conventional machine learning as well. Data analytics, image processing, video data analysis, which is one of the interesting topic I think we have been applying in different domains, and speech or natural language processing. I think Abir have already shown you one of the project about natural language processing, and we have already worked on several other. For example, my PhD was in speech processing, so I've already published some good journals and works related to speech processing as well. So these are major two domains: artificial intelligence and data analytics, and this is how we divide our research works into two different domains. Major application themes. There are more themes as well, but mainly we focus on psychological behavior or facial profiling, smart city applications, and healthcare technologies. And we have a lot of projects we've been working on, and we have successfully delivered within these three domains. So psychological profiling, For example, automated deception detection. Are we working with the animal behavior analysis, animal psychological analysis, animal well-being analysis, using their facial features and psychological behaviors? Smart city application. Successfully delivered flight guardian system, virtual fencing. Abir have already discussed this. Crime suspect identification, one of the ongoing project within our research group. Underground mapping objects, worked in 2013-14, long time ago, with in collaboration with Leeds University in the UK. Flood prediction system. So these are the smart city applications. Likewise, autonomous system with automated vehicle systems. So these are the smart city applications we are covering and we have been covering. Healthcare technologies, blind people mobility in outdoor environment, one of the current ongoing project we are working with. Pre-manifest Huntington disease detection. This is one of the paper which is accepted last week, and we are working on further with the collaboration with healthcare, NHS in the UK. Gait pathology was a very big scale project funded from European Union, and I worked in Reading University and still ongoing project. We are collecting more data on this. COVID-19, we published something, but very interestingly, we are currently collecting more data on vaccination. And we have just prepared a paper to be submitted next week regarding vaccination and diversity in terms of social demographics. So this kind of healthcare technologies and healthcare aspects we are working. So in summary, we divide our work in terms of technical contribution and application within these three major domains. And then this is what I'm expecting you to ask question about, right? Some of video simulation I'm going to show you. We started with the gaze tracking. For example, Abir already talked about people localization. So facial profiling most of the time is focusing eyes. And then, of course, within the eyes, we have to localize the iris. And within the iris, the focal point is pupil. So here I want to show you something. Real-time tracking of pupil. And these are some existing algorithms. You can find out Python libraries available already. So it's not our created algorithm. We did not create this algorithm. I'm just picking up some libraries to show you that this kind of works are available. And these strong libraries are available about facial profiling and facial landmarks. However, there are really, really big flaws with this kind of existing works, which we identified. And we came up with different approaches using cascade of within the eyes. And this paper, Abir, I think, mentioned about people localization and eye center estimation using machine learning and computer vision. And we published this paper, and we applied this approach of people localization. Is a hybrid approach using computer vision and some sort of deep learning landmark existing libraries. And we are still working on further to make it more reliable. However, the accuracy of this was, if you see the images, we tested different skin type, ethnic groups, lighting conditions to test the generalization and reliability of our algorithm, because people is the center of a lot of research related to psychological behavior, specifically the gaze and eye behavior within deception detection, stress analysis, and a lot of other interactive applications. So that is why we decided to start with the core of this domain, people localization, and then carry on to eyes, and then gaze, and then face, head, etc. We can discuss, and I will be happy if you ask a lot of questions. One of the application recently was in eye border control, 4.5 million pound project, a very large scale project, and I was working as a technical manager for the deception detection at the Manchester Metropolitan University while working with lot of European security organizations across the 38 countries, and we successfully delivered this project. And we published a lot of publication, mainly deception in the eyes of deceiver, with the expert system with the application Elsevier journal in a couple of months ago. Likewise, some conference paper related to deception detection based on machine-based interviews. And the overall project aim was to number one, increase the security, and number two, while crossing the borders, and number two, increase the time efficiency, because millions of travelers, they travel through the European borders without visa conditions before this Brexit, basically. So the idea was to utilize some sort of smart system and artificial intelligence to increase the time efficiency as well as security. However, our component was pure scientific and research aspect to develop something that could be applicable in the future. But our system did not alone make the decision about deceptive travelers. However, our system was successfully able to give them a red flag that this traveler has symptoms of some sort of deceptive behavior. So this person should be further interviewed or searched or whatever, so should be forwarded to advanced level security. So this was the major idea of deception detection within the border, at the borders. Gaze tracking and automated deception detection. So we decided to further carry on this domain using deep learning instead of conventional machine learning. And I'm just trying to show you different aspects of facial landmarks, existing libraries. How could we use existing libraries in combination with deep transfer learning and deep learning and other data analytics approaches to make it further automated as well as reliable and generalized. Another project, because Abir talked about a lot of industries, I want to show you something which we have successfully delivered with the collaboration of McLaren Technology Center and University of Central Lancashire. And that system was Flight Guardian system, where our objective was to use a simple camera on the cockpit. So analyzing video data of the aircraft cockpit to give some sort of pilot assistance. Now, you should ask this question, why do we need this? Because over 70% of the aircraft, specifically think about my country in Pakistan, they don't have most of the avionics system and aerospace system does not have installed modern avionics system. So we can, the idea of this project was to use video camera to analyze the cockpit and give some sort of decision about the future, about the hazardous situation that might be helpful for the pilot and more specifically for the trainee pilot. So I want to show you some one-minute video where we successfully applied this kind of video data analysis using machine learning and image processing to detect different kind of hazards. So for example, here in a situation, if pilot tries to take off with abnormal airspeed or engine speed, so our Flight Guardian system should give a warning that if you are flying with that much airspeed, think about car speed, because in avionics systems, these digital devices are different, working differently. But if these are not normal, then during the takeoff, then system should provide real-time alert. So you will see it is green if it is normal, but our system provided successfully this kind of red alert. So see, here we transcribed with speech synthesis and we embedded the domain knowledge of pilots about specific type of aircraft to provide them.
Your airspeed is too high. Reduce to 90 knots.
So see, if you are at cruise stage and your airspeed is
too high. Reduce to 90 knots.
so it provides very specific details
Your airspeed is too high.
until you are normal. So once it is normal, it doesn't give any alert. So you can see here we have applied a computer vision, machine learning for detecting object within the real-time system, and decision-making system using Bayesian network. I applied, instead of Bayesian network, I remember I applied Dempster-Shafer theory of evidence. So this kind of hybrid model is there, and it works successfully, not in simulated environment, but in real time, where we applied. Here I'm showing you a simulation, not simulation, a video while I was in the flight to. So see, the major challenge here was light, real-time dynamics, vibration, and bubbling of aircraft. So this kind of challenges were there, but our system produced 100% accuracy. Sorry, my battery is low. Thanks, I noticed. Another project was a research project I worked at Reading University, and that was about gait pathology, and to detect and identify if a person is walking abnormally. So which exactly phase, is it swing or stance? And if it is swing or stance, where exactly within the swing or stance? And then provide some sort of exact indication of measure how much degree of deviation is the abnormality in the gait. So this kind of gait information system we have generated and worked in collaboration with a lot of industry and other universities, and we produce a lot of publication in this domain as well. So this is covering healthcare technologies. Finally, this is my last slide, and I think this is the heart of my experience while working as a data scientist. And while talking about this, I will cover the whole cycle, and that is why I showed you the whole cycle from data capturing till decision making and reporting the findings. And I think major challenges which we faced at LJMU and during these projects, and we discuss a lot, myself and Abir discuss a lot, all of these aspects. Data ethics, one of the major challenge we are facing is ethical procedure. And after this 2018 GDPR within the Europe and UK, it became more challenging to collect more data, and specifically when humans are involved, and more specifically when video data is involved. And now it is dead difficult to capture more data. And I think that is why I decided to collaborate and back home, like in Pakistan and in Arab countries, I think comparatively easy to collect more data as compared to UK and Europe and USA. However, still is a big challenge to publish, to collect the data. Apart from time, apart from resources, the data ethics, we believe, is a major challenge for the data scientist and researcher nowadays, working within this domain of data science and machine learning or deep learning. Model. Selection of appropriate model, working on several projects with diverse data types: speech, unstructured data, natural language processing, textual data, social media data, videos, images. See, a lot of data types I've been working and successfully delivered and been publishing. But as a reviewer of journal, I noticed that most of the time, researchers, specifically research fellows, they make a mistake while picking up appropriate model. And I think this is a big challenge for the new researcher as well, when to decide, pick up which model, which algorithm for which data. So appropriateness of model. Likewise, for example, recognition versus detection, which should we select in deep learning? Classification or detection in the objects. Likewise, when you're dealing with the unstructured data, it is not easy to pick up appropriate model for most of the researchers. And this is a big challenge for I think, open challenge for artificial intelligence community, transparency, and what if required. For example, when I was publishing this journal about deception detection, people from European borders, and specifically the European media, they were behind me and they were asking me, how did you make the decision about somebody is lying? Now, luckily, I was using conventional machine learning and image processing. But what if you are applying deep learning? Deep learning gonna use input as a data and give you output as a decision or features. But those features are not describable by human easily. So we cannot say, for example, that within my face, my left eye is closed or open or blinked from the deep learning outcomes. So that is a major challenge for the professionals, specifically the security organization or application involving security. Or think about healthcare, for example, doctors. They would like to make decision. If we are making decision based on deep learning, why we are diagnosing somebody with a TB based on some X-rays. So doctors or clinical experts were curious about how did machine made the decision. And I think this is an open challenge for artificial intelligence community. And this was in debate, I think, in the parliament as well in the UK in 2018. And they came up with something. I don't know. I should give you the link of that report, but there is it is online, publicly available, where there is a paragraph about transparency of AI. So this is another challenge that I face sometime while psychologists, for example, they gave me hard time in making decision about the deception, because psychological people think differently, not like machine experts. Generalization. This is another big challenge. And I noticed that researchers miss sometime while reporting their outcomes. See, outcomes when we working in simulated environment, for example, here in this video, you can see the first part of the video is simulation. See here, I am working just simulator, and my accuracy will be 100%. Why? Because there is no lighting emulation. There is no bubbling in the aircraft. My table is stand still. So generated result in a simulated environment is always accurate, reliable, and easy as compared to something like in real environment where you can see things are different. Aircraft was bubbling, light is there, and I went more than 5 times to aircraft because of this real-time dynamics, which I never knew about it. So I think this is a major challenge which we have been facing during all of these projects. Simulated versus the real-time dynamics and generating result. Biasness in model, we noticed a lot of the time, but more specifically in the validation is a common mistake in, within the data science community and researchers about the biasness when they're validating, specifically the video data that Abir mentioned you earlier, that we validated our, for example, this monkey research or our deception research. This kind of, I'm happy to give you a detailed answer about this, but specifically image processing and video data analysis, not image processing, sorry, video data analysis using deep learning, researchers make a common mistake. I would call it generally subjective studies, where they are using machine learning per subject. They make a big mistake on validation, and you will notice, if you keep this thing in mind, you will notice there are a lot of public research available with this kind of mistakes, where researchers don't discuss the validation, and they just randomly sample 30% or 70% training, 30% testing data, which is not appropriate in most of the video data analysis and subjective studies. So this is a common mistake which we notice, and we run our experiment using leave pair out or leave K out strategies in this kind of researches. Finally, resources. deep learning is there, but we all know that most of the deep learning experiments are conducted using GPUs, and they require time, and they require a lot of resources, which is not at the moment in the industry available in this kind of technology like mobile. So we cannot carry a lot of GPUs, I mean high spec, or we even, if we think that we can use online resources, still the question is, do we have that kind of network streaming? I faced this problem during the eye border control, and then we changed the entire proposal, because initial proposal was to work on real-time deception detection, but then I came up with a solution of, we call it near real time, and they have to wait per question at least. So while user been asked, what is your name? So while he was responding, while he was being asked next question, what is your ethnicity? During that time, I was processing that information, because at the moment, we don't have this kind of network to stream that data online and process and generate results and give them the output. I hope you understand, and you will you might come up with a lot of questions about this. But this is personally, as I said, myself and Abir, we've been talking, we have been facing, and we have been addressing these challenges during all of our research projects. And that's it. Any question? I would be happy, and I think myself and Abir all together would respond to your questions.
Yeah, we are happy to answer any of your questions.
Thank you, Dr. Wasiq. Thank you, Dr. Prof. Abir. I would like to say thank you for sharing these great projects and the informative lecture. I will use my power as I am running the session. I will start first. I have some comments. I am not an expert in this field, but I have curiosity to start asking about, have you tested something like, if I am pretend I am 007, I try to deception you and put some lenses in my eyes. Do you think this kind of tests have been running?
Shall I respond?
Yes, it's yours. This is yours.
Yes, it is there, and people been asking whether they are using lenses or not, or this kind of. One of my research article was focusing about the glasses, right? And people are wearing glasses, and I noticed hell of the difference between deception. And this is why I called biasness by the model. Yes, model are biased toward the detection. However, now it depends upon the approach. If thinking psychological theories, we are not focusing only eyes. We are focusing 38-dimensional micro features, head, face, up, down. And interestingly, we were not looking within the eyes. We were looking the eye movement, left, right, close, open, blink. So it doesn't matter if you are wearing lenses or not, because your movements are important based on psychological studies, based on professional, criminal professional. However, there are a lot of contradiction as well about within the psychological experts. A lot of psychological experts think that eyes are not important. However, is a contradiction. But I hope I've answered your question. We are talking about, and we are analyzing movement, not the features within the eyes.
So I am curious about the percentage. It's like about 90, 95.
Okay, it again depends upon the application. We achieved around 80%. But I always say to even the journalists, while they've been asking, because they're publishing, and this become a big issue in the community. Detection, the accuracy depends upon the data and within the context. We were using 60 participants asking very specific question within the context of border crossing. So the question, it depends upon the data, depends upon the question, and how big our data is. And it doesn't mean that our system will work for social studies or criminal court proceedings or police investigation. No, it will be work only within that environment and within for those questions. This is really important to understand. For that context, we achieved over 80%.
Okay. Okay, I also have a very quick question. It's not a question, sorry, it's comments about the virtual fencing. Have you started to think about the inversely movement if like wild animals start to enter the field and try to attack these animals, like instead of just keeping this animal away from the dangerous?
Yes, this is actually one of the problems that we actually had. So with the virtual fencing is not actually, I mean, 100% proof from predators to come into the, to the area. So yes, it's one of the problems that virtual fencing is actually having it. But if you look at, I mean, particularly if you come to the UK and look at the fences that we have here, the real fences is not that high. So in most of the cases that animals who are kept to actually work in the fields, they still can actually get predated by other animals. So yes, it is one of the issues that we could have when related to virtual fencing. I agree with that.
Okay,
It's not proven. I mean, it's not keeping predators away from the virtual system, but it can save lots of money, particularly if you actually can monitor the health of the animals and you can see where they are. And in particular, if they go to a danger, for example, zones out of or away from where the farmer would like to have them, then we can use, in this case, a sound system that trigger a certain type of frequencies to allow the animal, without having to run or to be shake or to be actually worried, to run smoothly to the other side.
Yeah, thank you. So I think you are going to put this in your consideration, like future work, and like if you connected with the mobile, so give like alarms to the owner so they can like be aware about their animals.
We
yeah.
do that with the our system. Do that.
I would like to join you in this work.
You are welcome, definitely. Yes, basically what we have here, we try to monitor. The whole idea is also to monitor and look at the locations of these sheep so we can see where they are. And also give, for example, inform the farmers of the position of each of these animals. Again, as I said before, if an animal is sitting quiet, is not moving for a period of time, then we can see there is a problem here. Also, if it's grassing, is actually eating and feeding, and then from a certain area within the, the farm, that could actually also horribly infect the area. So we need actually to give also sound to them to move them away and go to a different location. Yes, we do that as well.
Thank you.
You are welcome to join us, definitely.
Sure, I can do investigation about your work very accurately. I will start with my colleagues who would like to start asking. So Dr. Ala, please.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Amjad. Thank you, Dr. Abir, and thank you, Dr. Khan, for the amazing presentation. Actually, you have done very good work, and yesterday I have gone through your Google Scholar account and Scopus account. I have and found amazing publication have done by you both. Actually, I have many questions, but shall I start with? Shall I make just two questions? Firstly, what type of deep learning are you using? Is it convolutional neural network or autoencoder? And do these algorithms done using Python? And are there libraries for these, such as Keras library and Scikit library? So for me, for example, I have tried to use deep learning because previously I applied a neural network for machine condition monitoring. And I have done my project about industrial robot health monitoring at Newcastle University. So now I'm trying to go deeper with deep learning. I have taken a course from IBM company through Coursera, but still I feel there is weakness in understanding this subject. So I need an advice from you how to make a start and how can I strengthen my knowledge in deep learning. This is the first question. The second question, do the regression and interpolation consider type of machine learning, and how can I generalize for predicting the future? We know that when we are training machine learning model, we are taking a range of data. So how can I generalize this model behind this range of the data? Thank you very much again.
Would you like to answer the first question?
Oh yes. Thanks for this, Salah. Yes, deep learning. I would recommend platform-wise, definitely Python, Keras, and TensorFlow. These three, right? Definitely. That easy, very powerful, and a lot of libraries are available. So you don't need to write your own coding. So Python, as compared to R, I've been working MATLAB, R, and Python, but based on my 10-year experience working on this project, definitely Python, TensorFlow, and Keras. That's it. Done. Where you should start? Yes, convolutional neural network. It depends upon the project again, and you can send us an email, and I'm happy to give you advice on a specific type of project, right? But convolution, start with recognition, start with classification, digit classification using convolutional neural network. Simple. Pick up the simple project, classification between different classes, right? This is, we can call it recognition of objects. Then you can start with object recognition, right? For the object recognition, I would recommend to use deep transfer learning. A lot of tutorials are available. I can send you some tutorials if you want.
Please.
So start with deep transfer learning for the recognition, for recognizing face versus hand, face versus mobile versus man versus tables, right? So, and then once you have done this, the final step is object detection. So object detection is when you are detecting multiple objects within one image. That is a challenge, and that is the most interesting and the future, I would say. So a lot of libraries available, trained model available. I forgot the names, but I think most commonly used YOLO, different variants. I think RCNN, these two.
Yeah.
My
recurrent neural network. Yeah.
Exactly. So these
as well, you can use them.
Exactly. So these are three steps, I would say. Start with simple convolutional neural network, then object recognition, and then object detection. So these are three phases I would recommend you. For the second question, Abir.
For the second question, if you try to do some predictions, I did work with, for example, Financial Times series predictions, and it doesn't work, for example, particularly when you're talking about Financial Times series, to actually put them immediately, for example, use the Financial Times series, try to put it in the range between, let's say, 0 and 1. And when we work with conventional, for example, machine learning, it doesn't actually give you good results. So what you need to look at the properties of the data, what exactly you're going to put as an input in this case, look at some features in there to actually use it rather than trying to use the signal, because you're looking at estimations in terms of prediction type. So you need, particularly when you're talking Financial Times series or any other type of series, is actually non-stationary, sometimes non-linear as well. So trying to use them as they are, previous values as they are, try to predict the values there, it doesn't work. For example, if you're talking about, let's say, non-stationary data, it would be better actually to transfer that into stationary and then work through them and actually try to do predictions. So also one of the advice I use, for example, when we did the estimation and prediction, I use conventional type of machine learning. Look at the property of your machine learning. Don't try to use it as it is. For example, some of the settings, and I've noticed that with lots of my research students, they try to use the setting whatever as it is and doesn't work. You need actually to experiment, and more experiment you do, the better you're going to actually have. Now, sometimes some people actually, as what I mentioned, they use generated data. you need to be very careful when you use any generated data. For example, if you have real data and generated data, sometimes you need to do that. So what you need to have when you do the training, yes, do that, but when you try to do the testing, make sure with the real data that you have to do the testing. And that's the advice I can give.
Thank you very much. So do you use regression or interpolation in your work?
We do regression, we do it, yeah, we do.
Yes, for example, yesterday I've been working on logistic regression, but that's because of our nature is our data is of that nature about the vaccination, so we are using that. However, as Abir said, augmented data you can think of, and in updating or changing environment is a big challenge for the machine learning algorithm. But you can think about reinforcement learning in that case.
Okay, so thank you very much. I'll keep in touch with you in the future to get more information about this interesting area of research.
No, you're welcome.
You are welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ala. Thank you for this question. Yes, دكتور علياء تفضلي.
شكرا دكتور أمجد. السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام.
شكرا دكتور عبير، شكرا دكتور واثق على المحاضرة القيمة. طبعا أنا مثل قسم علوم الحاسب بالجامعة التكنولوجية، كوني رئيس قسم علوم الحاسب بالجامعة التكنولوجية. عندنا عدد كبير من الباحثين وطلبة الدراسات العليا اللي يشتغلون بهذا المجال، مجال الذكاء الاصطناعي، كونه اكو عندنا برانش خاص بالذكاء الاصطناعي. دكتورة عبير هي متعاونة يعني ويانا، يعني حضرتك عضو باللجنة العلمية للمؤتمر قسمنا، المؤتمر الدولي اللي سيقام في مسقط إن شاء الله في أغسطس.
إن شاء الله تسلمين.
الله يحفظك. دكتورة يعني إحنا اللي نتمناه من حضرتك يعني نوسع قاعدة التعاون ويا حضرتك من خلال المشاركة بالإشراف على طلبة الدراسات العليا إذا ما عندك مانع.
I actually do that, and this is not an issue. I'm really happy to be part of any of your PhD and students to be and helping them. I'm absolutely happy, and I've done that in the past. So this is not a person, definitely.
شكرا. يعني دكتورة نريد نطمع بأكثر يعني الإشراف، المشاركة بالإشراف في الكورسات، مشاركة بكورسات طلبة الدراسات العليا، المشاركة أيضا في يعني نسوي فد يعني نريد نحدث على مناهج الدراسات العليا وكذلك مناهج البكالوريوس عندنا. يعني إحنا عندنا تخصصات، عندنا تخصص يعني القسم يمنح درجة PhD والMSc والPhD في الذكاء الاصطناعي.
Well, I'm part of a community for the University of Technology, and actually I've got an account with you and everything, and I'm happy to support and help all people from Iraq. So yes, definitely I'll be helping with that to help you and support you.
فاعتبر هذا اتفاق ان شاء الله نتواصل بهذه الامور وهذه يعني المجالات، ان شاء الله يكون لك دور وبصمه في يعني دعم المسيره العلميه للقسم والجامعه التكنولوجيه في مجال الذكاء الاصطناعي.
I'm really happy to help and support. Yes, definitely.
شكرا جزيلا. شكرا ممنونة.
شكرا جزيلا دكتورة. I am more than happy today because beside of the lecture today, we have some promising to further work. Thank you, Professor Abir. Thank you, Dr. Wasiq. I appreciate your time. Actually, we are running about 20 minutes over the lecture time. So I really know how your time is important and you are sharing your time with us. So I would going to wrap up this session and say thank you again, Dr. Wasiq. Thanks, Prof. Abir, and I hope we can do further works with this. Some promises we have it right now from Dr. Abir. Appreciate all the attendance today and شكرا لكم جميعا للانضمام إلينا في محاضرتنا هذا اليوم. يشرفني حضوركم وإن شاء الله نلتقي في محاضرات قادمة. في الختام السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
مع السلامة وأشكركم أنا أشكر جميع الحضور.
شكرا جزيلا. Thank you very much.
شكرا.
شكرا جزيلا.